So today in this video I want to look at two Xbox 360 controllers. I got these off of eBay a while ago actually. Not sure what I paid for it. I will hopefully put it up on the screen. Technically I got three Xbox controllers, 360, but I did not realize this was a third-party controller. You can see the difference on the Xbox logo, which is not really a big deal, but I don't actually own a 360 console, so I just need to test it on the PC to see what's wrong with them. And yeah, I cannot get this to connect with the PC. So unfortunately, I will not be able to do anything with this one today. But we still have these two other controllers to look at. So I think I actually tested it when I got these controllers. Yeah, what I remember is that this one was not able to connect at all. So if I open up the battery compartment and we look into it, we can see that at least on the motherboard side, it looks surprisingly clean, I think. So there's not really any impliance that we have a corrosion issue with some batteries. If you look into where the batteries sit in, it also looks pretty clean. But for whatever reason, I cannot get this to connect to the PC, so it's not really useful to try and test it. Instead, I will just test this controller. Since I remember I got this to connect to the PC, which is kind of ironic considering the state of these battery connectors, or at least this one. You can see it's completely rusted out. So pretty sure batteries have been in here for way too long and it started leaking. From this side, it's not that horrible. It's definitely acceptable. But yeah, anyway, let's pop some batteries in here and see if we still get a response from this controller. At least you can see that the lights come on. And I think it has actually paired with I have some kind of wireless Bluetooth thing connected to my PC, with which it should make a connection. So I think I will go over to the PC and we can test it. So it does actually connect, but if you move it a little bit sometimes it disconnects for some reason. But now it seems to be stable, so we can quickly go through it. So we start with the analog sticks, which are actually kind of okay. If you press them in, works fine as well. So I'm kind of surprised. Actually, I would expect some kind of stick drift. If you push the D-pad, it seems to be kind of sensitive. I mean, I've never really worked on 360 controller, so not sure what to expect. But yeah, if I push the D button, it actually presses both the right side as well as the side I'm pressing on, which I do not think is supposed to happen. You can try it right here, and it does only press the left side right here. Here it only presses the up side, and here it only presses the right side. So definitely think that maybe there is some dirt or something got stuck under here, which kind of causes it to press both at the same time. But I think that should be relatively easy to take care of that. So we have the back button and the start button, which do work fine. These face buttons are absolutely perfectly responsive. Then the shoulder buttons, yeah, again, no problems there at all. Ooh, okay, we have found a problem. So this is the RB button, so the right front shoulder button, and this one is basically just stuck. So I cannot press it in, it already seems to be pressed in somewhat. So either maybe misaligned, I think is possible, or just maybe the button itself has given out. Definitely need to open it up to see what's going on. And the RT button is absolutely perfect. So the controller seems to be functional. We also definitely need to take care of the rust on the battery connection. So yeah, maybe this can be used as a donor for that, or this one maybe if we cannot get this thing to work. But yeah, for this one I do not see too many problems in working on the controller. I think it's just a matter of a good service to the controller, and I think it should be up and running. Just for the sake of the video, I will actually put the batteries in this controller as well, so you can see what's going on with it. Or maybe it will suddenly start working. Who knows? I mean, you would think that this is the controller without problems, considering that this is in much better visual condition than the other one. But sometimes the ones that are more well used are the ones that are also more easier to get up and running again. But yeah, the batteries are in, and let's try it. We'll actually turn off the light here. So it's more obvious if the power comes on. But yeah, you can see we got absolutely nothing. I will double check I put the batteries in correctly, which I definitely did, as we can see here. And yeah, yet if we push the Xbox button, we get absolutely nothing. So yeah, definitely incomplete, no power on that end. And once again, the white controller. I definitely think that the rust is interfering with the connection on here. Okay, now they are both not working. I mean, why not at this point? Definitely incorrectly. That is actually incredible. 1 second it's working and now we get absolutely nothing. We get a small spark of life. Yeah, it's not really willing to work together. Let's try and give it a few taps. Oh, there we go. Again, clearly this one is actually working. But we will need to take care of the rust or else it's not going to work consistently, that's for sure. But yeah, at least once it's up and running, it does seem to work fine. That is the positive news at least. So yeah, very interesting. I think definitely this one is going to be the more interesting fix if we can fix it. This one will be a good, I think a good controller to start with at least. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so here we have controller number one. I have never even taken apart any of the 360 controllers, but I think we need to use a Torx security bit. I think the T8 will fit on this controller, which it indeed does. Don't think this has been taken apart before, considering that the screws have a bit of a snap to them when I try to take them out, which means that I don't think anyone has been inside before, otherwise it may be a little bit easier to actually take them out. So that should be all the screws out of here. I think we should be able to pry the front and back apart. Maybe some prying tools will make this easier. It seems to be a bit more stuck around here, so maybe we need to take the gray part out first. Okay, so this may be a little bit more complicated than I expected it to be. So this side does want to come out. This side is very stuck on. I already tried a bit on the sides to get the gray part out, but it's also a little bit tricky. There's probably a correct way to do this, but yeah, just need to try some different options. Apparently I forgot one screw out of the shell, so yeah, that does not help at all, obviously. So let's see if this controller wants to play nicely now. So after struggling with this for way too long, I decided to look up a bit of a guide, and apparently there is no screw behind there, although it feels like that, so I removed this sticker for absolutely no reason. Instead, we need to look at this sticker right here, and apparently there is a screw behind here. So I will put my X-Acto knife in there instead, and yeah, I think I can already see something shiny going through, so definitely a screw behind here. I think I should be able to take that out. So yeah, that was the missing piece all along. So definitely wasted a bit of time right there. And now, hopefully, finally, the controller will actually come apart. There we go. And yeah, this is also the first time I'm looking at the 360 controller from the inside, and it looks pretty nice actually. Definitely quite organized for sure. Also nice that the rubber motors are still with these connectors connected, so there's no soldering required right there. Should be able to take that out with a pair of pliers, I think. Yeah, it's nice and easy. So I think this may be the Wi-Fi chip or something. This is a wireless controller, obviously. I don't think there are any screws holding the motherboard in, so I think we should be able to lift this out. Maybe need to lift it on in different positions. We might actually need to take this out first, the gray part. Not too sure about that. This connector right here is holding the gray piece into place, but I really do not see any other screws on the motherboard. But yeah, this side wants to go, and this side finally also wants to go. So yeah, nothing holding the motherboard in place, but just need to keep on putting pressure on. Mainly these analog sticks helped quite a bit to kind of press on them until it's finally let go. And yeah, if I look at it visually, since as you can remember, we had some issues around the D-pad, some inconsistencies. And yeah, there's definitely some, I think, flux residue around here, around these places. I think about the analog sticks as well. But that's nothing to be concerned about. But the D-pad happens to be one of the cleaner parts of the controller, so not sure if our issue is there. I mean, I will of course clean up the controller, but I don't see any obvious mistakes around here. Or anything obvious that can be faulty. Here is the rubber pad, which is not looking too bad. I can try and do a bit of a paper trick with these, where we just try and refresh the carbon on these rubber pads again, so that it makes a better connection. I can try that. For the rest of it, it's maybe a little similar to the original Xbox controller, specifically the S controller in that case. And of course, I will also replace the analog sticks on there, the thumbstick specifically, since these have had their best days, obviously. So we will throw them out and we will get some fresh ones for this controller. So here we have some replacements, since we know the controller is basically working, so I have no problem reinstalling that. I think for now, at least, I want to just focus on the essential parts. So I'm not going to bother with the shell cleaning and stuff. I will just start with this rubber pad right here. I recently already showed this on a PlayStation 1 controller. Of course, it applies to any controller that uses these rubber pads, which is almost every controller ever. So what we want to do is we want to give this controller a quick clean, or this rubber pad a quick clean. Specifically the underside, of course. These carbon parts, before we try anything else with them. Then we take a little paper, and then we just drag the carbon over it. And we can do that a couple of times. I do 4 times for each side. So you basically do not apply a lot of pressure and you just drag it along. I think that might be enough. And then as an extra, even though the rubber pads look fine to me, and then we just, again, not a lot of pressure, you just kinda drag the pencil along a little bit. Give it a little bit of a fresh carbon layer. At least you add on to the layer, and that is done so far. Then I will just clean up the motherboard, since it's never a bad idea to do that anyway. So I like to use these clean room wipes for that. It's really nice material, and what I like about the most is that this does not fray into different pieces. It just nicely stays together. So it's really nice to just take a toothbrush and then just pour some IPA on that. So here's my toothbrush with IPA in there, and then we basically just soak it into the wipe right here, and then we just drag it along and should be able to clean up the board pretty nicely. Maybe there are some solder joints that maybe deserve a little bit of a touch up, but it's nothing too concerning, I think. It will definitely not cause any problems with the D-pad, I think. Very unlikely, at least. But I want to focus on that later. I first want to see if the D-pad can work a bit more consistently before I want to touch any other side of the controller. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of time, of course. We will do the back side as well. Same procedure. So it's pretty okay to clean up, actually. For the rest, there's nothing wrong with the motherboard at all. And yeah, I think that's everything I'm going to do for now. So I will quickly reinstall this into the motherboard, into the front shell of the controller. Then we will give this another test and see if we get a different result on the D-pad. Alright, so the controller is kind of back together. It is a front and back shell. So we can test it. So I just need to put in the batteries. I will turn off the light. I don't think we are getting anything right now. Probably still a bit of a connection issue right there. I will still go over this with some IPA. Still quite a bit of grime that comes off of here. So I'm now holding the battery on, basically, just purely for testing purposes. I think it's a similar behavior right there. For some reason, it just wants to press the right D-pad for some reason. Although on its own, it does work fine. You can see I'm really only trying to push the down right here, but it just really presses the right D-pad as well. And yeah, on the left and right, it does not seem to be as much of an issue. It may be that the Xbox controller is just a sensitive, it just has a sensitive D-pad that it just tends to double trigger like that, but yeah, I doubt it honestly. Of course, I did put the actual carbon layer on there, but it maybe has only made it worse, to be honest. So I will basically take it apart again. Should be a lot easier right now, at least. So the first thing I will do is just take off the bit of carbon layer we put on here with the pencil. I will just go over it with the Q-tip again. Basically undo the work we did on that. Now I'll just grab my paper and also just wipe it off a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's very useful to actually take apart the D-pad itself. I think just like the Series S controller, these are just two plastic pieces that are being put together by screws, as you can see right here. So I don't think there's anything interesting going on there. So we are just going to be doing the same process, putting it back together and see if we have any different behavior from the controller or if it is exactly the same. Okay, so the controller is connected again, as you can see right there. As you can see, I move my finger around a little bit. I think this is pretty I think this is pretty normal behavior right there. For some reason, this D-pad just double presses right there. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can do about that. I think we just mainly to leave that as is. I would like to actually still keep on working on this controller. I don't just want to write it down because of that little D-pad issue. So I think we will just move on to the next bit, which is to of course take a look at this terminal right here. Alright, so we are just left with the motherboard. And what I'm going to do is to take out this little connector right here. Get you as close as possible. And it should be very simple. It's just a matter of desoldering it. And I think I will use some desoldering wick for that. I think it should be more than sufficient. So that was pretty straightforward. Just with some desoldering wick I was able to get it out pretty easily. So I want to clean this out real quick. I'm going to use this to create a bit of a vinegar bath. So I keep my vinegar in here. I will just take off the top. Put a generous amount in there. Then we can just put this in here so that just the part that is rusted will get the vinegar on there. And then it's just a matter of a bit of patience. So I will wait until this has been scraping off a little bit and then I will be back with you. Vinegar is still actually reacting with the battery terminal. As you can see, still a little bit of bubbles around it. But nevertheless, we are going to take it out since I think we should be able to scrape off the remaining of the rust with. I think we are going to use the steel brush again and a bit of IPA on there. Hopefully it will start falling off a little bit easier, the rust at least. Stick in a little bit of vinegar as well. It definitely came off quite well, I think. You can already definitely see a bit of a difference in how it looked before we put it in the vinegar and after. We definitely want to get as much off of here as possible, since the more we let on here, the easier it is for this to just re-rust again. I mean, I don't think we will ever get it 100% clear. But yeah, this controller will just be for my personal collection. I do not own a 360 controller, so I think it would be nice to have one anyway, so there's no real need to actually get this perfect. But of course you want to get it as nice as possible. So I think this is the best it's going to get. And I don't think it's too terrible actually. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. So I just want to neutralize this a little bit with IPA, so the vinegar is not going to eat away at the battery terminal on the long term. You definitely want to neutralize it. I think we got all of the rust pretty much out as best as we can. So I will put this to the side and I will just clean up the vinegar around here. And here you can see what actually came out of the battery terminal. Does not look like much, but definitely it helps pretty good. And yeah, here you can see what comes off of this brush alone. Definitely quite a lot of rust on here, so this did a great job. So here we have the motherboard again. And this is just going to go in the same way. Just like that. I will actually add a little bit of flux, just to make sure we get a nice solder joint on here. So that is the terminal we connected. So I will just take the controller, put it in the shell again, and then we're going to give it a test again and at least see if the connection will stay on permanently and it's not going to be cutting out with the battery connector cleaned up. Alright, so here's the controller fully back together, as you can see, except that I did not put all of the screws back in. So let's connect it right now, see if the controller actually comes on. Yeah, that does seem to work fine, I wanted to say, but it just lost connection again, I think. Okay, so now it is working. So let's go to the PC and see what we get right here. Okay, if I feel the D-pad right now, it does actually seem to respond better. So I will try to get this onto the phone as best as I can. But if I just leave my finger on here and just push it. Okay, if I put my weight on the right side here, then it actually goes over, and the same for the left side. Still a little bit there, but it somehow seems a little bit better. So that's at least good news, I think. A little bit of a improvement. I mean, I did actually clean the whole controller while I was waiting for the battery terminal in the vinegar. So maybe that did help a little bit after all. Not sure, but it does seem to feel a bit better, so a little bit more snappier. So maybe there was some dirt being stuck there, but yeah, not sure. But oh well, it's good enough for me. Oh yeah, we had this issue with the RB button. I completely forgot about that. Which means that we were not completely done here, but I thought that we were done here. So I'm going to take it apart again and go to the RB button. Alright, so we have torn down the controller again. And here we have the left button and the right button. And I do not think you can hear it, unfortunately. But if I click on this one, it feels nice and snappy and you can hear an actual click. I do not think it's audible, unfortunately. But yeah, this one definitely feels a lot more spongy, so I will definitely be replacing that. So here, I think we should have a compatible part in here. I bought this for the Xbox One controller, but I think it is actually the same switch. So I think it should work fine. And honestly, if I'm replacing one of these, then I always like to replace the other one as well. So they have a equal feel to them. So I think I will just take these two and I will replace them both, even though this one still feels okay. And if I'm replacing both of them, it also means that we need to take off these back pieces again. Oh damn. So I will do that quickly and then we will give it a final test. So now that we have removed the left and right triggers, I think we can instantly just move on to removing these two back buttons. And yeah, it's basically the same process, obviously. Alright, so both the buttons are desoldered. So if I take my pliers, I think I should be able to just lift them out like that. So the only thing left to do is to just install the replacements, and it should be a direct fit. Align the legs a little bit. It's a very nice fit actually. So that is the buttons installed. And of course we do need to reinstall these ones, but here's the end result. So here's the back. I think it looks really clean. And of course the front side. Yeah, those buttons sound nice and snappy again on both sides. Compared it with this one, then this one feels really spongy. This one is not too bad, I could actually keep it, but I have so many of these around that I will probably just throw them both away, since even the other one, the left one, is probably also already a bit worn, and of course that will only get worse over the years, so I think it's just best to throw them both out. But I'm happy with the install, so I will be putting the whole controller back together off camera, and then we can test it finally. Alright, so the controller is back together, and I will turn off the light real quick, see if it connects, and it seems to be working fine so far. So once it's connected, we can actually try it on the gamepad tester and see what the results are. Yeah, this is working much better. It feels nice and snappy on the left side, of course, and as well on the right side. Has a really nice response. Of course, everything was working, but I did actually put some lubricant on the left trigger and right trigger, some silicone grease, so that all feels much more smooth right now as well. So give quickly everything a press, and there's definitely no issues there. I definitely think the D-pad feels a lot better actually. It's definitely more consistent than it was before, so I will see it as an improvement. And again, this controller is of course for the personal collection, so I'm not really too worried about it. But happy with how it cleaned up. Turn on the lights again. Happy with how the controller cleaned up. And yeah, that is controller number one. Surfaced at least. I need to put the screws in again. But yeah, at least it's working as intended, and it will be nice to add this to the collection. So that one is fixed, and now we will move on to controller number two. Alright, so here we are back with controller number two. This was the controller with no power, as it says right here. And since it will not connect to the PC anyway, we are just going to take it apart. So there we go. So here is the controller open. That definitely went a lot more smoothly than the previous one. And I think the first thing we need to do is to just do a visual inspection of the motherboard. Since obviously if we look at these battery terminals, there's no clue or there's no evidence that anything has happened with these ones, since they just look perfectly fine. And for the rest of it, again, I've not worked on 360 controllers, so I have absolutely no idea what could cause a no power like this. Could be anything from random dirt to maybe corrosion, or maybe some loose legs on a chip, for example. I'm not too sure, so that's why I at least want to take the whole motherboard out, see if there's anything significant going on. So I think what I will do is I will grab the microscope, and then it's a little bit easier to see if anything is going on with this motherboard. Alright, so here we are looking at the front of the Xbox controller. It's a bit close up, but this is possibly where the headphone jack comes in. At least you can connect some kind of accessory, I think. And if you look at this, I don't see anything obvious going on. I believe the white stuff you see around the motherboard here is just some flux residue. I do not think it's really corrosion or anything. I think the same stuff that was on the other motherboard. So we should be able to just scrape this off, I think. So it's not very alarming to me. It's definitely a little dirty, but nothing to be worried about. So at this point, I'm basically going over the whole motherboard and just checking everything out, seeing if I can find anything obvious. But basically, I cannot find anything special. I checked some of the legs of the chips around the board and to see if there's anything of corrosion going on. At some point, I even go and measure the diodes to see if those are in working order. But basically, everything is checking out okay and I can't find anything. So instead I decide I will need to try and find the fault elsewhere. I want to see if the voltage makes it into the motherboard. So of course the Xbox controller takes 1.5 volts and then 2 batteries. So in total it will have 3 volts going into it. So unfortunately I do not really have a power supply or anything, but I think we can reuse the little plastic casing where the battery sits in, and we can try and push that into the controller. So here are my batteries, and here's of course the back casing. So I think we will just temporarily put the Xbox back into the back casing just to see if the voltage actually makes it into the controller. Also curious if I actually push this button if anything will happen. Oh, I think I saw a sign of life right there. Let me turn off the lights again. We can try that again. See that? How do we get live right now? Now I definitely don't understand that. Yeah, it's actually trying to pair right now. So that is interesting. Let me see if I need to push the wireless controller button right there. Oh, I think I finally managed to do it. So it's connected to my PC right now. So I think we will just go into the gamepad tester and see what it does. Yep, it's absolutely working fine. But why? It's just the only question I have. I clearly tried to connect it multiple times and it just was not doing anything. Yeah, this thing is working perfectly so far. Nice and responsive. The sticks are perfectly centered. I cannot really move them very nicely around, but yeah, they're definitely fine as far as I can see. Just trying to click the L3 R3 button and the D-pad. See if that works properly as well on here. Just need to try and align them. It's also working. Triggers are registering also fine, so yeah, that means there's absolutely nothing wrong with this controller. Absolute mystery why it wasn't working before or why it even wouldn't power on in the first place. Okay, so it's basically the next day at this point. I have been trying to think on how to end this video. I have already edited most of the video and I kind of wanted to conclude the the part of this controller kinda as fixed. So I thought I fixed the controller, but later found out that it's not really consistent enough. And my conclusion was that with these battery terminals, if we look at it from this side, if you look at the left terminal, it seems to be a little bit more higher positioned than the right terminal, which means that this side may get good pressure from the battery, so the battery is under good tension, but here it may be a little bit loose, which would explain why the controller would be disconnecting sometimes, even when making the slightest movement. So for example, when I'm just pressing on the D-pad or if I'm physically moving the controller around, it would just randomly disconnect. So I did not really want to finish the video like that, and hence the reason why we have the third-party controller right here. So I thought maybe it would be a idea to sacrifice this controller and basically steal the battery terminals from this one instead, since these ones are in really good shape as far as I can see, and if we compare them, I think they might make a decent fit. I think there's not even that much difference between the two as far as I can see. I think it should actually work fine. So I think what I will do is, since this video is already way too long, off camera I will just take the controller apart, I will remove these two terminals, and then I will pick up the video when we are going to reinstall them into this controller. Alright, so here we have the original Xbox controller, so the controller we were working on. Here is the third-party controller, obviously, you can definitely tell. Although surprisingly, it does actually have a lot of components in common with the Xbox controller. For example, you can see the back triggers are basically identical, so I will definitely be keeping this controller around purely for donor parts. So maybe in the future I can repair other original 360 controllers. So definitely not a waste. And here are the third-party battery terminals, which are both in really good condition. And here are the original ones, and I think we will keep the left one and we will just purely replace the right one just to see what will happen and to see if that will actually solve the problem. So I think if I just keep the soldering iron on here, should be able to push the terminal out, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Oh, there we go. So here's the old original terminal. and we actually can just directly reinstall the other one. Now it does make for a nice fit. There's definitely a bit of a difference in the height of each of the terminals. So I think we might need to match the original one in this case. If you look at it like this, it may actually not be too bad. Once the controller is fully in its shell, it does seem to have a decent point of contact. So I think at this point I'm not going to make any modifications and just directly install it and see how that will work out. So here's the end result of that. Definitely a difference in the height of the terminals, but after I have cleaned this up, I will just fit it in the shell and see if it will cause any issues. So here it is in the shell. I take the battery, and if you take the power button, it does still connect to the computer, as we can see right here. So now I'm just going to shake the controller around, and it does disconnect. Of course, the controller is not being fully clamped down, of course, so I think I will just need to put it together and then we will see how the controller performs. I've just put the controller back together, and when I turn it on, you can see very soon that it will connect to the PC right there. And if I push the buttons, at least when I just tested it, it does not disconnect actually. So it seems to be at least a improvement from how it was before we took out this terminal. So I do think that it definitely was causing some of the issues we were seeing, but it's still not really 100% solved. So if I do this, if I shake it around, it's fine. But yeah, if you shake it around to finally, it will still disconnect. And of course, we can decide to take out the other battery, but yeah, I'm not even sure if that is worth it. I mean, I am willing to try it, to be fair, but I will do it off camera just to speed up this video a bit and to get a bit of a conclusion to it. I will take it apart one more time, place this side as well, and see if it's similar battery terminals, it will actually stay on. And as far as I know, with if we try to power on the third-party controller with these battery terminals, it stayed on absolutely fine. So not really expecting problems there. But yeah, I will take it apart and let's find out. So here we can see that I have replaced both of the battery terminals. Here are the original ones. And now we have replaced them with the third-party ones. So only thing left to do is to put the batteries in and see if we get a different behavior right now. See if these are actually in correctly. Okay, now we get absolutely nothing. You cannot write this type of stuff. I'm not sure how it is caused. Maybe a misalignment with the batteries, possibly. I definitely feel spring tension on both sides if I push the battery down. So I'm not sure if that is the issue right here. But unfortunately, in this case, we get absolutely nothing. Which means that I will just go and take a look off camera and I will just mess around with the battery terminals. And if I get it working again, I will be back with you. So I've been messing around with this controller for I think maybe 10 minutes, so not too long. And I have done a bit of an interesting discovery, which I would like to show you. So here we have the battery holder for the right Xbox controller that we worked on earlier in the video. And if I put the batteries in here, we connect it to the controller, you can see that we actually get live out of here. And it's working again. Still a little bit dodgy, unfortunately, when you're actually finally shaking the controller. But at least when physically touching the buttons, it does seem to work fine. So now I want to try the original again, just to confirm that we get absolutely nothing. But when I started to inspect the inside of this battery terminal, I found something interesting. So you remember me saying that the controller was looking absolutely fine and no signs of corrosion. It's a different story for the battery connector. I hope it comes across on video a little bit, since they look really good on video. But when I look inside of here, on the left side, you can see quite a few serious spots of corrosion, where the right one is relatively clear and pretty shiny. So these three are looking fine. This one is pretty heavily corroded. So I think I will just get a Q-tip with some vinegar on there. And I will try to clean out the corrosion that way. It's only a few spots of corrosion. It's definitely going all over the little metal spring, so it could definitely be causing some issues, I think, and may also explain why we were not getting a great connection. So honestly, maybe it was a waste of time to change out the battery terminals. Maybe I should have just cleared out this battery pack a little bit better, and maybe that would have solved the issue. So now I take my Q-tip with some IPA to clean out the vinegar again and neutralize it a bit. Can't see much on here, I'm afraid, but definitely some residue has come off. But unfortunately, we still do not get anything. And honestly, if you look at this terminal right here, I did not even realize it was this long. For a battery terminal, you can actually see the darker bit right here on the metal. That's all corrosion and rust. So I wonder if there's a bit of a breakage in here. It should cause the connection to one side be connected and then on the other moment to be fully disconnected. That may also explain why this controller is not really working fully as intended. You can also try the third-party battery terminal, see how that performs. I'm pretty sure it's all compatible, which is pretty great. And we also instantly get a connection. So I think with the third-party battery holder in here and the original one as well, I think it's safe to say that there's just too much corrosion on these metal parts on here. So it's basically a no-go to try and fix the controller when that it's not going to make any sense at all. And if I shake this around, it actually stays connected. So, I mean, honestly, I think I will, if this keeps on working like this, if it stays all nicely connected, think I might just keep this one, to be honest. And maybe mess around some more with this off camera, but like I said, the video is too long. At least I was able to pinpoint where the fault was at. So I think these ones were maybe not our trouble after all, even though there was a little bit of a difference in the height of the battery terminals. I think in fact we just happened to have a corroded battery holder, which I was definitely not expecting. So at least it was still somewhat interesting after all. But at least with the third-party battery holder, it does actually work fine and it does stay connected, even if I shake the controller pretty violently. So I think maybe with some more proper testing, this may actually be fixed like this, which is great news. So at least we have still one controller then fully operative. So I am happy enough with that, which also means that I am going to go to the outro of this video. So here are our two controllers. This one, a little bit sketchy. I think there is something going on with the D-pad, but I just cannot pinpoint why it will double press sometimes. I just do not have enough info around the D-pad and the 360 controller in general. Maybe this is a common issue, maybe not. I have no idea. So fortunately, this one is partially fixed, I would say. I mean, I will still keep it around, like I said, for my PC, for maybe older games I would like to play, which do not require the D-pad as much. This one I will just test some more and see if it will stay up in fully working condition. So yeah, at least we made it to the end of the video and I was able to fault find this. So happy enough with that. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was interesting to you. If it was, you can leave a like on the video, even subscribe to the channel for more similar content. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.